All right, welcome to Halitics. I'm Hal Ginsberg. So glad to talk to you today. It is Thursday, first day of the NCAA tournament. So I was pretty careful to start the program on time today. I want to get in as much basketball as I can over the next couple of days. I will be off next week. Mentioned that. Really looking forward to a little vacation. Haven't taken many trips, but we are going to a country we've never been to before, Mexico. And I'm really excited about it. Never been to Yucatan, never been to south of the border. So this was a nice opportunity for us, and we decided to take advantage of it. Problem is, it's super hot down there, over 100 degrees in Merida, where we're going to be staying, and that is unfortunate. I don't think it's usually that hot at this time of year, but likely an example of the climate holocaust for which we are responsible as human beings. I'm not going to talk about the climate today. Well, maybe if you call me, love to talk to you. 240-242-5646. Yeah, you see the number on the screen. But yesterday I was guilty. I got a call during the program, did not hear it. I turned the ringer down. Didn't want to be too loud or to disconcert me. I turned it down too far, and I didn't hear the ringer that I've got set up. It's at a low volume, so you won't hear it, but I will when I'm doing my live stream. But as I mentioned, it was a little too low. That was a call on Haiti, and I'm going to play it. I did get permission from the caller to play it if she doesn't call in later during the program when I get to a brief discussion, kind of a regurgitation, if you will, of the situation there. Remains very, very bad. In fact, worsening since yesterday even. But I wanted to start with this, the new anti-Semitism. My subscription to Haaretz is really paying off. I've been getting all these notifications from them, and they brought to my attention this story out of New York City just a few days ago, and I call it the new anti-Semitism with a question mark. I have been spending a lot of time, I believe, on this program debunking claims, or at least addressing claims of anti-Semitism with a really jaundiced eye. And I will continue to do that today. That's not going to change. But a restaurant in New York on the Upper West Side, you can see sort of an image of it there, Effie's Cafe, was targeted. I certainly would say well, it wasn't even really, it was vandalized because they threw some or put some red paint along the storefront of that restaurant, Effie's Cafe. And I'll show you a few more images in a moment. And it's been called anti-Semitic by the New York Post, by the representative from that district in Congress, Jerrold Nadler. And I really wanted to, address that because I believe anti-Semitism is real. But I've heard, and we talk about this with Arlen a lot, he'll say, well, why are you questioning it? People say they've been victims of anti-Semitism. Why do you question it? Why do you question rapes? Well, because these allegations are being used over and over to distract us from what Israel is doing in Gaza. And there's no question about what Israel is doing. We can see the pictures. We can see the death, destruction, devastation. And so there's practical implications that flow from claims of sexual violence against Israelis by Hamas. There's practical implications that flow from claims by people here in this country that they've been targeted because they're Jewish. There's crackdowns on college campuses against Palestinian speech, for example. So it's really important that we get to the bottom of this. And if there are increases in anti-Semitism, we need to address the root causes. Why is this happening? How can we prevent it from going forward? If not, then we need to say, no, this isn't true. This isn't real. And we've got to hold accountable those who are making false allegations. So there was, without question, several incidents in New York City on the Upper West Side earlier this week where certainly I don't think we can dispute anti-Israel, anti-Zionist graffiti was found. But that's not how it's being presented as anti-Zionist. What it's being presented in the media Again, you're watching Halitics, by the way. I hope you will subscribe. Please like, please subscribe to my live stream here. You know what? I'm going to brag, and I used to get accused of this by our friend in, well, I don't want to say where he's from. It's not really fair to him, but former, I guess, subscriber. I don't think he subscribes anymore. I took away his commenting privileges. I hated to do it, but he just simply was being so trolly that I just wasn't going to allow it. He wouldn't respond. He was only in it to try to embarrass and humiliate me, not to engage in solutions, and not even to make fair criticisms of what I do. So I had to get rid of Jeff. I feel very, very bad about that. But, I'm all about the back and forth, the discussion, the colloquy. So I hope you'll subscribe. And I would say, Jeff used to accuse me of saying, well, you're too, you brag. You're always telling us how great you are. And he would say, I don't think I always did, but every now and again I would say that. I watch some other programs. I don't think they do as good a job. I really don't. And I know they've got, by an order of magnitude more viewers, more listeners. So I have to say, well, right. I mean, you are what your record says you are. So, for a team to say, like, if the Washington Football Club says we're a Super Bowl champion, well, yeah, you were 30 years ago, but you're not now, right? So it's kind of bogus for me to claim that. But just in terms of watching, listening, viewing, I think you get an awful lot out of this program that you don't get, let's put it that way, from others. So I am disappointed, that so far we haven't seen more of a response. I hope it comes on, and I think what you get here is what you don't find elsewhere. Even programs that may be similar politically don't necessarily present issues the way I do, and with the same willingness to be challenged by callers. So here's Rep. Jerrold Nadler. Enough about me. He is a Democrat. Some call him a progressive. I'm not sure I in fact, I wouldn't be one of those, but on some issues, on economic issues, he's not bad. And he's certainly been in the anti-Trump camp forever and deserves credit. He really stood up to Trump. Trump has made, if you drive through New York City, if you drive on the on the West Side Highway, for example, you see all these hideous Trump towers that block the view for everyone else in the city. And they're really ugly. They present an ugly face to people on that road and in New Jersey and on the river. So I think Trump should have been stopped from building those eyesores. And Jerrold Nadler really, really tried. So, and he succeeded to a significant degree. Trump hates him. So I give Nadler credit for that. That's one of his real accomplishments. Here, I think he's off the bat, right? He says the recent attack on Effie's Cafe is a cowardly act of anti-Semitism. That's March 18. We'll get to what actually happened there, but I just want to set the table for what movers, shakers, people who have some influence and media have said about what happened at Effie's Cafe. Effie's Cafe, owned by a Jewish American, a man who moved to Israel. Effie is his nickname. Effie Jacoby is the Americanization of his name. I'm not going to even try to say how it is in Hebrew or Israeli. Effie Jacoby is the owner of Effie's Cafe. And I looked into his, before we get to more specifics, I wanted to find out how ardent a Zionist is he? How clear has he made his support, if he has, for Israel? And I mentioned he is an Israeli American, but you could be someone who does a Sabra, someone who's born in Israel but comes to the United States, as opposed to someone who makes Aliyah, comes from the United States, goes to Israel, comes from Ukraine or where have you. And a lot of Ukrainians go into Israel and also Gaza, for that matter, which we'll maybe get to as well. Anyway, I didn't find a lot there. I was like, is he the right person to target? There are restaurants in New York City that have really promoted Israel, have held fundraisers for Israel, and I think that's Islamophobic. I think that's pro-genocide when you do that certainly since November, right? Or maybe right in the aftermath of October 7, I get it. Israel was attacked by Hamas. 1,200 people or so, maybe a few less, were murdered by Hamas. It was a terrible, ugly terrorist attack. So yes, we can rally behind Israel then. But since that happened almost before the bodies were even all counted, Israel was bombing, killing, and targeting civilians in Gaza, and thereby creating many more enemies. So, if you hold fundraisers for Israel, you're going to be targeted by pro-Palestine activists, not because they're necessarily anti-Semitic, not because they're Jew haters, but because you're supporting a state, the Jewish state, if you will, that is committing genocide against them. Effie wasn't one of them. I couldn't find any evidence. I feel like this was, look, I'm not saying you should ever vandalize, of course, but he was an odd target, it seems to me, for these vandals. But did they, again, I mean, it's being called, right? It's being called anti-Semitism by Jerry Nadler, certainly by, well, I don't know how, a pretty not credible newspaper, the New York Post, although they do get some things right. Here they say, New Yorkers help remove anti-Semitic graffiti scrawled across beloved NYC Israeli cafe. So it is true that a lot of people in that neighborhood up on, I think it's Amsterdam Avenue, somewhere like that, did get together to clean up. And so I guess they get credit for that. I mean, we'll get to what they cleaned up in a moment. But it does seem like this was a beloved, certainly a beloved landmark. So not everyone, not every media outlet, by the way, calling it anti-Semitism. I thought it was interesting. And again, I mentioned that I learned of this story. I hadn't read it. I don't think it's in the New York Times. I didn't look closely to find out. I didn't Google that, but I learned of this story, and I mentioned my subscription to Haaretz really paying off quickly. Just in the past few days, a lot of stories that they've been reporting have really, I found very, very interesting and worth discussing. So this is from Haaretz. Remember, Jerry Nadler, the New York Post, and others calling the graffiti anti-Semitic, but not Haaretz. Haaretz says it's anti-Israel, pro-Palestine. And then they quote Nadler there. So what is it? What is it? Hal, you're all screaming at me. Well, what exactly is there? If you looked at the promotion for this program, you might have seen I put on the YouTube, well, it's not Photoshop. I used GIMP because GIMP is free. Everything I use, all the software I use to produce this program is pretty much open source. I do have to use Windows, but my production software is OBS Studio, open source. So pretty much everything I can is free software. So here we have Notkin. So putting together for the promos, I use GIMP, which is open source, and I've been using that for going back to the old radio station days. So Upper West Side author Melanie Notkin, she's a fan of Effie's, was one of the first to join. This is from Haaretz. I felt that was really important to get rid of the graffiti before any kids saw it. I didn't want them to feel fear. Didn't want them to feel fear, says author Notkin. So again, I'm like, wow, this must have been rough stuff, right? I mean, was there like swastikas? Because when I was a kid, I went to Hebrew school and all that. I would have been scared if I saw a swastika. That would have scared me. I'd been like, oh my God, the Nazis are here. Was it like, let's kill the Jews? I mean, I'm wondering, you read this and you're like, how bad was it? And if it's fear-inspiring, that must be pretty bad. So is it? Do you think it is? Let's get to it. We can, because, so here's some pictures. I want to juxtapose, but I'll do that in a bit. Juxtapose with what Israel's doing and the fear it's causing to communities there. And is it comparable? So there were two spray painted messages. And it was hard to find because, like as you said, as I showed, author Notkin wanting to get rid of it before anyone saw it. And this is what Israel and its supporters seem to do, right? All those corpses were cleaned up, and all the rape victims, purported rape victims, their bodies were collected and buried. We know autopsies, no forensic evidence gathered. So we're just supposed to take the word of people that there was desecration of corpses, or in this case at Evie's Cafe, there's terrible anti-Semitism that was spray painted. And of course, you know, as a Jew, which I am, my first thought is swastikas. Kill the Jews. Jews must, you know, let's make New York Jew free. I mean, stuff like that. Clearly anti-Semitic. There's anti-Semitism is real. It's not like it's made up. But is that anti-Semitism? Is Free Gaza? I don't know how I can say, or anyone could say, that's anti-Semitism. You can see the red paint splashed on that cafe. I really hate that. That's really bad stuff, right? I mean, that's a crime. You don't get to do that. But is it anti-Semitism? Is Effie being targeted because he's Jewish? Is there an anti-Jewish message being presented? I don't see it. Now, I don't like, again, I wouldn't like this anyway. And the paint is terrible. That's the Free God, that's a sidewalk, you know, that's the city's problem. But what you do to the storefront, I'm not condoning. And again, I did some research. There's restaurant owners who have been right out there in support of Israel. And if you're going to go after people who are supporting the genocide of Gaza, of Gazans, of Palestinians, if you're going to do that, I don't know why they're picking on Effie. Maybe he did or said something I'm not aware of. I couldn't find it. I tried. Free Gaza, not anti-Semitic. It just isn't. You cannot possibly jury rig that into meaning something anti-Semitic. Now, the blood, you could say, well, they're saying we need to kill Jews. That's Jewish blood. But that's not the message. It's clearly not. The message is, you, Effie, your cafe, you're Israeli, not because you're Jewish, because you're Israeli, you're responsible. You're shedding the blood of Palestinian people. Now, again, I don't think it's fair to blame Effie for that I know of. But it's not anti-Semitic. It's not Jew hatred. It could be Israel hatred, which is pretty darn understandable under the circumstances. I don't think every Israeli should be, just like during World War II, if Germans, a German, not a German American, not an American of German descent, if a German immigrant is attacked during World War II, that's bad. It shouldn't happen. What we did to the Japanese was awful. That was clearly, they weren't even Japanese. They were Americans of Japanese descent. The Nisei, who we put in those camps, that's clearly Japanese hatred. But this isn't Jew hatred. Not every Jew is being targeted. The way in World War II on the West Coast, you could have been born in this country and you'd be put in that camp, those camps. And no one should have been put in those camps. That was hatred. This is specifically targeting people from a country who is committing genocide against another people. Not because they're Jewish. Now, you could even, if you want to call that Israel fear of Israelis, maybe, because it seems, as far as I can tell, that Effie was only the victim because he's Israeli, and that's really, really bad. But it's not Jew hatred. It's not anti-Semitism, which, by the way, does exist. It does exist. So here's, let's see. So what else? Because it wasn't just, by the way, it wasn't just Free Gaza, which, again, I can't possibly view as anti-Semitic. Also, form a line here to support genocide. So that's bad, right? I mean, that's on the sidewalk. Again, it's not Jew hatred. It's not anti-Semitism, no matter what the New York Post or Jerry Nadler may say. They're saying this is an Israeli restaurant. Israel itself is perpetrating genocide. So if you support this restaurant, you're supporting genocide. Now, I don't know. That's why I was wondering, is Effie somehow known as a staunch supporter of Israel? Maybe he is. It wasn't reported. Maybe if you've been to that restaurant, maybe there's all these, pro-Israel signs. Maybe there are people wearing Israel, there's Israel. Effie comes around wearing an Israeli flag. That's bad. That's like, if you wear an Israeli flag, that's like wearing a swastika. To a Palestinian, an Israeli flag is the same as a swastika is to a Jew. There's no difference. And it's very understandable that they would feel that way. But I'm not aware of Effie doing that. So I think he was a bad target. Not that I think people should be targeted in general, but he hasn't been, as far as I can tell, front and center in some pro-Israel, anti-Gaza campaign. So this isn't great. I don't like it. But the important part of this for me is that, again, there's a rush to target every crime, every vandal, every action against somebody who's Israeli. Not even just that they're Jewish. They're Israeli or Jewish. That's hate. That's Jew hatred. It's just not the case. I understand that night, I don't have the story, some men wearing Hasidic garb in the same neighborhood slurs were yelled at them. That's anti-Semitic, right? Because we don't know that some Hasidis don't even support Israel. But I do want to make one final point. This is understandable. I mean, look, Jews have embraced Israel. Jews are claiming, many, that if you criticize Israel, it's anti-Semitic. That's just not the case. That's not right. But people start believing it. So they're like, okay, I guess I'm an anti-Semite. I guess every Jew really, really loves Israel and supports Israel and thereby hates Palestinians. And I think that's not an unfair characterization of where we are right now. All right, more allegations. So this is from a website. I don't know how big a noise it is. They seem to have a following. They were linked in the, I believe, in the Post article, maybe in the Haaretz as well. Same exact time that Effie's was targeted. These big rocks, or they're not rocks, but cinder blocks or whatever blocks were spray painted. Now, I don't like it. It's clearly vandalism. It's not a good thing. But where's the anti-Semitism? I know they say anti-Semitic graffiti. Where is the friggin' anti-Semitism? Do you see it? Let me know, 240-242-5646, because I would really want to see where is, and I'm going to show you where there's real anti-Semitism. It's not like I doubt there's anti-Semitism. So that says, Free Palestine. Israelism is terrorism. This is from We Are Tov. We Are Tov. Okay, website. Israel is ethnic cleansing. F Israel. That's not what it says, but that's what I'm going to say. Israel bombs kids. Okay, I don't know how you can say that's anti-Semitism. It's not. It's all about a country. It's all about a country that's doing really, really bad things and really, really pissing a lot of people off. So it's not anti-Semitism. You want to call it, go ahead. But you'd be wrong. And you'd be minimizing, you'd be diminishing real incidents of anti-Semitism. So I say don't do it. And I'll call it out. I'm going to call it out when that nonsense. One more, just wanted to show this. They don't show that in that little sequence there. But the Post had this as well. And again, I'm like, this is so clearly, it's so obviously not anti-Semitism, and yet it couldn't be clearer. These are the same vandals, right, that we just saw at Riverside Park. And, okay, so let me just show it. Judaism, yes, with a big exclamation point. Zionism, no. That cannot possibly be jury-rigged into, fitted into the under the rubric of anti-Semitism. It reminds me, you ever hear, who Procrustes was? Procrustes had this bed, and Procrustes this is a Greek myth, and Procrustes, if you came to stay at his house, you had to stay in the bed that he had for you. And if you were too short for the bed, then he would stretch you out on a rack, right, until you were the right size. And if you were too big for the bed, too tall, he would chop your legs off so you could fit in his bed. Well, that's like those who are arguing a sign like this is anti-Semitism. It's not. It's just we're going to say it is, and no matter what, whether you're too big, too small, too short, too skinny, too fat, we're going to make sure you fit in that bed. So everything that criticizes Zionism, period, is apparently anti-Semitism. Well, it just ain't. It's just not. Now, you want to see what anti-Semitism is? I'm going to show you. Because I was Googling this. I wanted to find something. So on YouTube, I guess it's Google, because YouTube owns Google, so sure. Or Google owns YouTube, rather. I don't know. I guess they both own each other. I would just say this. That's really bad, right? Don't we need lots and lots? I want the media. This was like I was saying, you shouldn't be allowed. Every social media post should be tied to a real human being. So if you see something on your YouTube feed or whatever, in YouTube or on your X feed or in your, I don't even call it Twitter, but X, Twitter, whatever. You see it on your Facebook, there was a real person, an individual who was at their laptop, at their on their phone, on their desktop, typing it out. Otherwise, you shouldn't see it. It just shouldn't be there. So you want to see anti-Semitism? Here it is, New York City. And I was looking through New York because we had these allegations from Upper West Side. Here we go.
The NYPD's Hate Crimes Task Force is looking for the men seen in this video as they allegedly draw swastikas on the wall of the Acapulco restaurant and deli in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. Police say the incident took place just after 9 a.m. on Sunday, December 2nd. Investigators say the men were also heard shouting profanities.
All right, so that's anti-Semitism. And they said the Acapulco restaurant. I think they said Acapulco. That's what I heard. I guess that maybe that's a Mexican restaurant owned by a Jewish restaurateur. I don't know. But look at the date, Jan 8, 2020. So it's over 4 years old. We're hearing there's this new outbreak spate of anti-Semitism, but the examples from this past week don't meet that, certainly don't meet my definition, and they shouldn't meet yours, and they shouldn't meet Jerry Nadler's. I thought in this country we get to criticize countries. I thought we get to criticize allies. I thought that's what we call freedom of speech. What I don't think you should be able to do, and by the way, criticizing doesn't mean you deface a restaurant. They clearly did with the red paint. It was awful, and black. So that's wrong. I'm not saying it's okay, but I'm not calling it anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is drawing swastikas on a restaurant. And you can see January 8, 2020, had to go back that far. Now, I'm not saying there isn't more. I mean, look, everything is, you find something and but I did a search and that was the first one that popped up, not that recent. If you do a search and you find something else that's more recent, please let me know. Why do I do this again? You can't prove a negative, right? I can say this was an anti-Semitism and that was an anti-Semitism. And people say, well, yeah, but you forgot about this and you didn't address that and you didn't talk about that. So that's true. Proving a negative is really tough or impossible. But when you read about anti-Semitic incidents and then you look into them, you find a lot of times there's no there. When you look at allegations by Israel of widespread rapes and sexual abuse and assaults on October 7, and then you look into the incidents that you can identify, they don't support the claim. So we start to become very, very skeptical of all the claims. And that's a huge problem too. So you know what I say? Don't make false claims. Don't make fake claims. Don't pretend that something happened unless you can back it up, right? Seems pretty cut and dry to me. 240, please do call, 240-242-5646. All right, let's go back to Haiti. All right, and yeah, so how the Clintons robbed and destroyed Haiti, that's this headline from the Canada-Haiti Information Project. I talked about Hillary Clinton yesterday and got a call from Stephanie following up or during that conversation. And I want to play it for you. So I wanted to just revisit this real quick. This is a different story. I'm going to show you a little more from this article. I don't know, is it completely accurate? They take a very aggressive view, the Canada-Haiti Information Project. They really, really blame the Clintons for how awful Haiti is, the situation is right now in Haiti. And this was actually about 4 years ago, and things have only gotten worse. And certainly the Clintons are very closely associated with Haiti. They honeymooned there. Hillary Clinton, it's been clearly documented, clearly shown she stymied a minimum wage hike there to 61 cents an hour. And that was in 2009. She clearly viewed the island as a kind of a test bed for her kind of neoliberal notions where we take areas that are very poor, impoverished, and we open them up for businesses. We have to regulate the businesses. We oversee the businesses, but we, in the end, are promoting a capitalism, a benevolent form of capitalism in areas like Haiti, Ukraine, right? And we've seen how well this has worked out. It hasn't. It's worked out. It's been a disaster. Because what happens is, over and over, it's not that there shouldn't be business, but the businesses should be small. They should be locally owned. If you're going to capitalize businesses, then do it with micro lending. Make sure that they're not multinationals that are going in there with the purpose of just simply maximizing short-term profits. You want, again, locals trying to make a living, support themselves, their families, employ a few people in the region or in the city or in the neighborhood. That's the kind of small businesses that can lead to success. That's not what the Clinton Foundation was about. Now, I think the headline there, and I, again, picked this out because it's very tendentious, and I don't think it's inaccurate, but it's not fully accurate either. They aren't, Haiti was in terrible straits before Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton came to power, but they sure didn't help. And just a real quick, very brief passage that's conclusory, and you don't have to believe it, and I don't give it so much, but I think this is really important to understand. This is how people look at the situation, and they have a lot of evidence to support it. We'll get there in just a minute, but again, it was that the idea was let's open Haiti up to make it business friendly, and that'll be great for the Haitian people. And obviously it wasn't. It was maybe good for the Clinton Foundation, Clinton Global Initiative. They got a lot of money. But what Canada-Haiti Information Project says, the imprint is indelible, the couple's present and impact on the island has brought nothing but prolonged despair for the Haitians. Their elusive and opaque deals in the country have done nothing to alleviate the country out of poverty deficits. That's for sure true. You can't argue that. The country's worse off than ever. So whatever the Clintons have done has not helped. And the interest of helping Haiti from its myriad of problems have only caused stagnation or worse in Haiti. So I don't think that's really arguable. And I do want to get, though, because we had a call yesterday from somebody who really, knows what she's talking about. So I wanted to play that for you. So let's see if we can get that as well. And this will be, Stephanie. So let's see if we can get this. Well, actually,
as of March 20th, the U.S.
That's awfully loud, and you also heard you heard the back and forth. So I'm going to try to get that different. Here we go. So yeah, let's before we get to Haiti, before we get to Stephanie, let's play this video. This is today in Haiti, and it's really bad, right? It's just really, really, really bad, and I don't know what to tell you. It's just very, very, very upsetting.
The U.S. government is facilitating the safe departure of U.S. citizens from Port-au-Prince, Haiti. We are in the process of organizing government-chartered helicopter flights from Port-au-Prince to Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic, where U.S. government personnel are present to provide consular assistance, and from Santo Domingo, American citizens will be responsible for their own onward travel to the United States. For operational security reasons, and they're ongoing, I don't want to speak with greater specificity, but we do expect these helicopter movements to make multiple trips in order to try and get as many American citizens as we can today. Some are interested in exploring departure options. Some just want to stay in touch with the United States of America or the embassy. Some want expertise advice on how they may be able to remain safe, and others may not be in a place for safe departure now, but maybe down the line. So it's important we talk about this population in the broad sense that it is, but the number of Americans who have reached out to us through this forum is approaching 1,600.
All right, so it's not just that Haiti's on fire. The people there are on fire too. Police and the gang members who have taken over the country engaged in, street fighting. There's no infrastructure whatsoever. And the only thing the United States can do now is to try to save lives, American lives. So I want to get back again to just the idea, of the Clintons and what they did, and why what they did has led to where we are now. So here's what Stephanie had to say, who called yesterday. And again, I apologize. I wish I had gotten her on. It would have been fun. But I think what she had to say was important enough that we play it anyway. We play it without her on the line.
Hey, Hal, this is Stephanie. It's just as well you're not taking my call live because this is a drive-by call. I'm working during the day, so I have to just tune in when I can and tune out. And yeah, I'm glad you're covering Haiti. Hillary Clinton is an absolute horrible person, and I'm glad you're covering what she did and suppressing the minimum wage there. I did want to tell you, I was good friends with some consultants who worked in Haiti way back in the late 80s and early 90s, and we absolutely participated in the kidnapping of their democratically elected Jean-Bertrand Aristide. We are constantly, big surprise, destabilizing them. We don't need to go in and do anything. We need to get the F out and support their request for repayment from France of all the money that they were forced to pay France to reimburse them for the slaves they lost there when the successful revolution happened. What we've done in Haiti is absolutely disgusting, and I've heard firsthand from people I know and trust about what America did there when Haiti elected a socialist priest in Jean-Bertrand Aristide, and how we kidnapped him. I mean, it was us and France, and we kidnapped him and took him to, the Congo, I think. So we're totally responsible for this. We should support whatever Haitians want to do. We should give them money and stay away. You know, that's all they wanted is self-determination, and, you know, we should give them aid and butt the F out and let them, you know, let them develop their own country and stop getting in the way. It's just disgusting. Well,
all right, so that's Stephanie's comments and bolstering what I said, and she, of course, having firsthand knowledge. So I was gratified that she was listening, that she is listening, and that she took the time to confirm some of my conclusory statements from yesterday. I think one thing that's really important is what she said about giving Haiti money but staying out of their internal affairs. And I think that's the opposite, clearly, of what the Clintons and basically our foreign policy has been, which is our aid is just simply never disinterested. It's always at the behest of our quote aid is never disinterested. It's always at the behest of multinational corporations and very wealthy people. The Clinton Global Initiative raised money from plutocrats, from billionaires around the world who had very specific interests that they were promoting, such as fracking, such as, in the case of Haiti, keeping labor costs exceedingly low. And that's the worst possible way to conduct foreign policy. And that's what the Clintons did. And that's what, you know, Trump's done. I'm not Trump's, you know, Trump, you want to do business with me, you stay at my hotels. And because I'm president, you really have to do business with me. So the corruption is just off the charts, right? Both parties, awful. The situation in Israel with Israel is so bad, and it could well cost Joe Biden the election. And I have to say, this is a tough one. I've been extremely harshly critical of the Biden administration. I think many of their policies have been, you know, have made things worse, right? Whatever we're talking about, whatever specific problems we're facing, whether it's the Ukraine war, which is horrible for Ukraine, horrible for us, except for the weapons manufacturers, promoting it, instigating it to a significant degree, pushing it, whether it's more drilling, more extraction, liquefied natural gas, plants on the Gulf, cancer alleys there, whatever it is. I mean, you can go down the list. It's been really bad. Biden is a bad president. He's a harmful president. But is he as bad as Trump? And I made the case, look, he's bad. Is he as bad as Trump? In some areas he's probably worse. And Ukraine, with respect to Ukraine, certainly he is worse, in my opinion. But, on balance, maybe he's a little better. Yes, there is this initiative to rein in fossil fuel consumption. I get that he set the record, right? He broke Trump's record, but maybe he's a little better than Trump, nevertheless. Not as bad as Trump. Biden's in real trouble. I have taken the position, like Arlen, I thought Biden was going to win. I just felt like people aren't going to support Biden. But this poll that just came out, and usually you should look at the state polls. This is something that 538 says, but I say too, in part because of 538, but also just because it makes sense. There's a lot more state polls than there are national polls. And the winner of the presidency is not the one who gets the most votes nationwide. It's and this is, why a big reason that a lot of the pollsters got wrong 2016. Hillary did get the plurality of the vote, and she was favored to win the election. But she didn't win the most important states, the ones around the Great Lakes, and that's why she lost. Yes, national polling isn't as important as all the states combined, aggregated. But if you're Joe Biden and you don't win a plurality of the vote, you're probably not going to be president. You need to win significantly more votes Democrats have consistently needed to win more votes than their Republican opposition to stay even with them. The Electoral College, the way it's set up, does indeed favor Republicans because they have much more rural support. And so, you get states like South Dakota, North Dakota, Wyoming, Alaska. These are small states by population, but each voter there has an inordinate impact on the results of the election versus voters in, say, California, New York, Illinois. Now, I know there's the flip side of that. There's Texas, there's Florida. Vermont's a very small state that trends, that's very Democratic. But there are more Republican states that are small. And the big states that are Democratic are really, really Democratic, right? I mean, Biden and Clinton won huge majorities in California. Trump barely won Florida, both in 2016 and 2020. So right there's a major disparity. And yes, Texas is red, but it's not quite as dark red as California and New York are dark blue. So this poll is the one, if I'm Biden's team, I'm really, really nervous about. Just came out. This is well after the SOTU, the State of the Union, which supposedly would have given him a bounce. And some favorable polls for Biden since then. The Coast poll, I don't think that's so reliable. The Reuters poll, relatively reliable, +2 Biden. Morning Consult tie, that's just a tracking poll, doesn't really have a lot of influence. Grinnell Seltzer, 7 points plus Trump. Trump wins this thing by 7 points. If he's even up by 4 points in the end, he wins. He's going to be president. So that poll has got to make Democrats very nervous. Now, I always say, look at the pollster. How good a pollster are they? Are they a good pollster? Or are they not a good pollster? And that poll conducted by Grinnell Seltzer. Grinnell is a college, very nice, prestigious liberal art school in Iowa. Seltzer works for the Des Moines Register, I believe, and now she has her own polling firm. She's the best pollster in politics. Uncannily accurate. I know this is 2016, and it hasn't changed. This is from 538. So you should be worried, right? I mean, you should be worried. I do think the Gaza war has got to be a major factor. The fact that the economy, while the metrics look good, is not good for so many Americans. That's one area where Democrats tend to be advantaged against Republicans. They don't have that advantage right now. I have repeatedly stated I will not vote for either candidate, but I have to say I am more worried about Trump than I am about Biden. I think Trump is more dangerous than Biden. I think the policies that Biden has pursued have been very, very bad. When Israel was not engaged in genocide against Gaza, I felt more comfortable saying I'm going to stay home and set my hands all over Jill Stein. I felt better about that because on issues that were really important to me, I wasn't clear that Biden was better than Trump or was less bad than Trump. For example, Trump has spoken about peace in Ukraine. That's never once crossed Joe Biden's lips. Trump has been talking about trade. Trade is a huge issue. I believe it's one of the biggest problems we face is globalism. Trump, at least rhetorically, not in terms of policy necessarily, but rhetorically gets that. And yes, the climate holocaust is foremost in my mind, but Biden has made us, again, broke Trump's record for most oil and gas barrels produced. So I'm not, whatever, oil is barrels, gas is, I guess, whatever, by weight, they do it. Some sort of pressure BT. Is it BTUs? I don't really know. Regardless, cubic feet, right? Cubic feet of natural gas. So they're both bad. They're both really bad. But when it comes to Israel, yeah, Trump's worse. Trump, I mean, not that Biden's really, I mean, it just tells you how awful this guy is, that he's worse. He's worse than Biden. And I fear the irony is that those of us who are so critical of Biden for his refusal to break with Netanyahu, his refusal to stand up to Israel, his refusal to call for a ceasefire. And that's really hurting him, right? It's hurting him. It's certainly hurting him in Michigan. It looks like it's hurting him nationally now when we look at that Seltzer poll. My fear is that the bitter irony is that it could help a guy who's even worse when it comes to Israel, even whose policies are even more destructive, more harmful, more genocidal. You know, I think it is fair. I mean, Trump's going to say something here about Biden that I think is interesting. It's not wholly inaccurate, although it's twisted. So we'll play it, and I'll, as you know, I always do. I'll stop when I, you know, at the where I feel like it's pretty important to highlight. Yeah, subscribe, please do. Please, please, please. Look, I've tamped down my hopes. I was hoping for 1,000 maybe at the end of 23. Didn't get close to that. If we can get to 500, I'll be real happy at this point. And that will monetize this stream. It won't be a lot of money, just a few pennies here and there, but it will be certainly a gratifying for me. It will be give me a sense of accomplishment. So give me that. Throw me that bone, folks. If you haven't yet subscribed. And if you are subscribed, not only like, but I say share. Try to get your friends. Try to get people you think might be interested in Halitics. I know it's a heavy lift. It really is. I mean, people aren't really into videos necessarily. Some people podcast, but they want to find their own people. I think we're doing something pretty special here. I hope you'll promote it. Former President Trump.
Tonight, former President Trump casting his primary ballot in Florida, doubling down on remarks Democrats are slamming as anti-Semitic.
The Democrats have been very, very opposed to Jewish people. That's true, and to Israel. All you have to do is look at Senator Schumer. What he did with Israel is a disgrace.
After top Senate Democrats.
Schumer's statement's obviously pretty milquetoast. Just simply saying we've got to, and I see we've got a caller. We'll get to you in just a sec, caller. Schumer's statements on Israel, pretty milquetoast, but correctly saying, yeah, Netanyahu is a real problem. And so I'm glad he was able to do that. I'm glad we got that from him. But, Trump's point is kind of scary because Democrats really oppose all the support we're giving to Israel and are critical of Biden for that. And many are threatening. They're voting uncommitted. Maybe some of them really won't vote for Biden in the general. Not saying they'll vote for Trump, may not vote for Biden. But the irony is this could lead to an even worse result, which is Trump. All right, I see you're a talking caller. Who do I have on the line?
Hey, Hal, it's your friend Maury from West Virginia.
Oh, hey, Maury, you're calling in talking about Israel, or you want to talk about pipelines and natural gas?
Well, I'm not going to say much today. It's getting late. I was able to catch your podcast. I'm back up in D.C. I just came from the FERC meeting, and I'll join the free-for-all tomorrow. We'll talk about the FERC commissioners and the new people that are asking to be commissioners and some other stuff. So I just want to say thanks for doing what you're doing. It's important stuff.
Thanks a lot, Maury. Really appreciate that. And, you and I have talked about, just since I got you on that topic of whether the irony is in withholding votes from Biden. This is specific to the Israel-Palestine policy. I know you and I don't see fully eye to eye on that, but the irony, and it goes to also the climate holocaust. We are very critical. I'm very critical. You're critical of Biden's policies and the Democrats more generally. But the irony is we could be letting ourselves in for even worse from Trump. And I don't really have an answer to that. I really don't, because I feel like I'm not going to just vote for the frying pan because I don't want to get thrown in the fire.
We got some work to do, Hal. We got some work to do. We got to make sure that democracy is saved and we actually have a country and we have some real work to do, and we'll maybe talk more about that tomorrow.
All right, sounds good, Maury. Maury will be on tomorrow during the free-for-all. I'm going to just cut him off right there to just hang up on him. You might have heard the little chime there. Still, it's too many. I got too many balls in the air. That's the problem. 240-242-5646. You got about 3-4 minutes left in Halitics today. Tomorrow, my last program in March, and then I'll be back April 1. April Fool's Day. That is no fooling. That's where I'll be. But let's play a little more on Trump going after Schumer. Again, Schumer correctly saying Bibi's gone way too far. The killing has to stop. This is not some kind of radical extreme view. This is how most Americans see it. And yet I fear Trump is cashing in on the left's complete disenchantment with Biden. Just disenchantment, correct disenchantment, to appeal to, Jewish voters who are all in for Israel. And we saw the 1,200, right? Those who signed, those creatives in Hollywood who are probably Democrats, right? Most Hollywood people are indeed Democrats, and they're critical of Glazer for saying, hey, Holocaust tells us we got to say no to genocide wherever it is. And they didn't like that. They were pretty pissed off about that. Trump might be able to pluck enough. And I think the bigger issue isn't so much that he might win California and New York, heavily Jewish states, Maryland, a lot of Jews in Maryland. Florida, that could really hurt Biden. This could hurt Biden in Florida because Jewish voters decide, hey, especially this retirees. I heard that the big issue, the big divide, isn't Jews and non-Jews, Democrats and Republicans. It's old and young. Young voters are much, much, much more angry, much more upset about our support for Israel, much more, horrified by Israel's genocidal acts. And older voters are much more supportive of Israel. And that could hurt Biden clearly in Florida, where you have a lot of Jewish retirees. It certainly will hurt him in Michigan, where you have young voters, especially young voters who are Arab American and Muslim. And it will help Trump in another way, because wealthy, older Jews are going to become more inclined to give money to Trump, I fear. And he's doesn't take a rocket scientist, which Trump most certainly is not, to figure this out.
Chuck Schumer blasted Mr. Trump earlier today.
The former president's comments were utterly disgusting and a textbook example of the kind of anti-Semitism facing Jews, pushing the dangerous anti-Semitism trope of dual loyalty.
The firestorm began overnight when Mr. Trump was asked about Schumer's recent rebuke of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who Schumer said should be replaced in new elections.
Why do the Democrats hate Bibi Netanyahu?
By the way, I love that objective media. Trump goes on. Why do the Democrats? Well, I mean, the way it's phrased, it's not personal. We hate what he's doing. And I don't want to call myself a Democrat. People who have a heart and a soul, people who have empathy, people who care about human beings hate what Bibi Netanyahu is doing, because he's not just complicit, he's responsible more than anyone for genocidal acts against Gaza, for ethnic cleansing in Gaza, for the settlements in the West Bank that are driving much of the violence there, or all of it there. So that's why we hate what he's doing.
I actually think they hate Israel.
Mr. Trump saying Democrats are being swayed by protests over President Biden's policy on Gaza.
Even I'm amazed at how many people are in those marches. And guys like Schumer see that, and to him it's votes. I think it's votes more than anything else. Any Jewish person that votes for Democrats hates their religion, they hate everything about Israel, and they should be ashamed of themselves, because Israel would be destroyed.
All right. So that's despicable. That's disgusting what Trump said. But there's going to be an audience that will respond to that. And I know people who respond to it because I've talked to them, because I know Jewish people who are supporters of Trump, who feel that you have to support Trump. You have to, because he's the only one who will be there for Israel. And we need Israel. We must have Israel. Without Israel, we're all lost. I addressed that yesterday. I think that's just false. I think I reject that. But even if there were some truth to it, Israel's actions are so evil, so wrong, so reprehensible that there's something more important than supporting it, and that is that we stand together against cruelty, against sadism, and against ethnic cleansing, against genocide. But the cost may be we see Trump become president. I'm willing to pay that price. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you Israel isn't that bad, or Democrats need to be more support, need to tamp down the criticism of Israel. I think the bigger issue is that these wedge issues have real clout, real power, real influence, because neither party is on the side of poor, struggling, and working Americans. If there was a party that truly championed the working class, meaning the Democrat Party, if the Democrat Party truly championed the working class, the election would be over. Biden would get reelected in a landslide. Even notwithstanding fears of his dotage, his dementia, his inability to recall correctly, none of that would matter. If the policies that he was pushing aggressively, rhetorically, if the policies that the Democrats, when they have maturities, like when they did under Obama, redistributed wealth, power, influence down, there'd be no question who's going to be airy calculuses and these paradoxes that we might have to support the bad guy because there's somebody even worse. I'll be back tomorrow for the free-for-all.
Hey, Hal, this is Stephanie.
That is not the clip I wanted. The wrong player, folks.